Welcome to Saints on Cinema. I'm here with Zach. Hello,
Hey
Zach.
guys, how's it going?
Welcome back. We're going to continue our discussions on the Mandalorian series, and this episode is compiling two episodes, chapters 3 and 4. Even though we said we were going to do them one at a time, well, it was Thanksgiving week. We're all busy, so whatever. If you're going to sit and watch this, then you wanted to hear what we had to say, and it was worth it for you anyway. So who cares? But we're going to go over chapters 3, which is the sin, and 4, which is Sanctuary or Solid Sanctuary, right?
Sanctuary, yeah.
Before we jump in, Zach, quick question. How do you like this new Star Wars little logo with the black with the characters R2 and
The opening. Yeah, well, I guess this is what they want to use to open all their TV shows with. I assume is what they're going to do with it now. I think it's fine. I think it's super simple, but it's fine.
feels like 80s Laserdisc intro or something like that to me. It doesn't seem like it's like what they used to do with the old Mickey Mouse cartoons where you had Mickey's head. I don't know if you remember this. I just thought about this where it had it was like the Superman logos flying in space was like or Mickey's head. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's right.
I'll see if I find a clip and throw it in there. But
no, it's fine. It's not like oh, that was a really cool intro or anything. It's just like, okay, that's fine, whatever.
I think the Marvel ones and even some of the DC ones were better, but whatever.
Oh,
whatever.
I agree with that by far, but yeah.
Okay, the sin. Where we left off, Mandalorian just went. He got his shit back together. Had a fun little montage. He left Nick Nolte on the desert, not Tatooine planet. Took off, and he was going to return the new baby yodeling to the Imperial guy, the client. Even the subtitles call him the client. To get his bounty. He goes and gets to the bounty. Now we'll have a moment in the cockpit. First thing. We're going to talk about this moment. I love Yoda. Yodeling, whatever we're going to call him.
We can call him Baby Yoda. That's what everyone's calling him on the internet. It's fine. He's not Baby Yoda, but it's fine.
Although I am starting to subscribe to some clone theories, but we'll talk about that when we get there.
I was right about that, I think.
Really? Okay. Well, Yoda climbs down. He climbs up on the console, and he's just being he's almost like a dog or a cat. Have you ever had a cat mostly? And you're trying to work on something, and the cat just wants your attention, wants to be on the table in the middle of what you're doing. That's what Yoda reminds me of. Kids don't really when he's playing with the buttons and stuff. That's more like what kids would do. But Yoda seems to really want to get it and keep playing around with him. But it's really hilarious when he grabs him and picks him up with one hand.
Right. And just sticks him back in. No, it's pretty good.
Favorite, this little clip of anything that he did. I think that was the funniest yodeling moment. But anyway, he lifts him and goes and he moves him over before he lands. And he's playing with the little knob. Playing with the little knob. He unscrews it. Setup, right?
Yep.
And he puts him in there. Now, I gotta say, just real quick, I love the special effects of the flying sequences. Everything they've done with the ship in space looks amazing. It looks like Star Wars film quality. Although I realize we haven't had any action in space.
Not yet.
But it looks really good. I've had some concerns about the monsters and stuff, some of the creatures, but the flying looks awesome. I love it. Anyway, lands, and he goes and they're walking through town, right? Now, this is the other thing about Yoda in this moment. I love, you have to go back and check. When he's cruising down, there's other ships in the little landing area. Other ships are lifting off or whatever, causing this air to blow. And it's blowing his little peach fuzz hair, and his little ears are flopping.
So what I found out is really cool about this. So Werner Herzog is the guy who plays the Imperial guy that he's delivering the Yoda to, who's a famous editor, longtime editor for anyone who doesn't know.
Yeah.
He was he claims, at least, who knows if it's true, but he was the one who got on and they were saying, yeah, we're going to CG the little baby Yoda. And he's all like, no, you need to do a puppet. This is Star Wars, you need to do a puppet. And there's a couple shots where I was like, I can't tell if it's CGI or a puppet.
Yeah.
So But now I'm starting to be able to tell better. It seems like it's mostly a puppet, and then they probably use CGI for a couple shots. But I think that's why you're seeing little things like that. You're seeing the ears wiggle, and you're seeing the hairs because they actually made a puppet of that thing.
Right. It's like a full flapping in the wind. It looks awesome. And that is the cutest little moment of the Yoda thing. I gotta say this though. In between these two episodes, you have a lot of cute little baby Yoda things. I think I'm going to get kind of sick of Baby Yoda by the end of it if he has this strong of a presence the entire time. He's cute, but it's going to be like, let's move on with and tell him the story. Just like I felt the same way about the walking. I mean, we have a little bit of walking in every episode, a little slow moments. I understand. That's what they're going for, the lone samurai and gunslinger and all that stuff. I get it. But I thought I was going to get really bored if every episode was like the pilot episode, was just walking and walking and walking, but it's not. They're pulling back, and so now I can enjoy the feel, and that was the tone. It was set up. Now we can move on with the adventure. I feel the same way about Baby Yoda, whatever. I get it. He's cute. There's an attachment, a little connection between them, and he's triggering some memory about something from when he was a kid. But the more and more they're going to continue to show Baby Yoda, I think I'm just going to get really bored with it. I'm already sick of the memes. If I'm flipping through Twitter or something, as soon as I start I turn it off.
I'm guessing you're just in the vast minority on that one. I think everyone's pretty excited about it and love to see everything he does becomes a cute meme. So
I know. Maybe I'm just sick of the social media aspect of this show. Because I tell you what, and I posted this, and I was like, I hate hearing. What are the two things? I have spoken. Everyone's saying that now. I have spoken. And what is the
this is the way. Me and Ray have been saying it to each other all the time. You're sick of it already.
It's cool on the show. It's fun if someone has it like as some kind of a conversational piece where they put it in there, but people are just saying it, just forcing it into wherever they can, injecting it, and it's ridiculous. Whatever.
Oh, come on. Haven't you seen the LDS memes about it? Because there's that verse that says, "This is the way and there's no other way."
I haven't seen the name, but I get it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Baby Yoda, he's adorable. I love it, but I love little things like him picking up with one hand, just tossing him back, seeing him climb out of his little hover chair, falling on the ground, him walking in the episode 4. Anyway, it's cute.
Well, in episode 2 and 3, all those moments are definitely setting up their relationship, right?
Yeah.
Like, because you could literally go from episode 1 to episode 3, but then the payoff is not nearly as effective, right? There's no emotional character building. Episode 2...
Force usage. That's the whole point of episode 2.
What's that?
His using the Force, that's the only thing that came out of episode 2 that was necessary for the plot. That's it.
No. They had to build up the two characters' relationship in order for episode 3 to work. If you skip from 1 to 3 and they took the little Yoda, you would not have the same emotional connection, and you wouldn't believe that the Mandalorian would care about it.
All right, I'll give you that. I agree.
So you have to have episode 2 in order for their relationship to be built. And then in 3, that little knob that he grabs at the beginning is that little reminder of, hey, this is a cute little thing that he's taking care of. If you were to get rid of episode 2, you're like, well, that's kind of cute, but maybe just kind of annoying to the Mandalorian.
You're right. I see what you're saying. And you get a little the intrigue from the yodeling when he's watching the Mandalorian doing anything, not just when he's healing himself in episode 2, but when he's just watching him, you're seeing him not learning who he is, but he's
absorbing it, which I don't know how good that is in the long run, right? Like when he watches the Mandalorian kill and he's like sitting there, he looks kind of excited. He's all like, yes, kill. And they've made memes of that too, because it's kind of emperor-ish, like watching Anakin kill Count Dooku. And it's like, oh, maybe you're not the best person to be raising this little guy, which he does know. You know, the Mandalorian knows he shouldn't be taking care of this guy.
He's like, and he even says in 4, he's like, I did my job.
Yeah.
I protected him. I got him out of danger, but he put him in there. And that's what this episode is. The sin was that he turned him in. Is that?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Well, He drops him off, and they have the cockpit scene where you're being reminded, even though those episodes like 5 minutes long, you're being reminded again of their relationship, and you had to have the setup with him playing with the little
ball.
The end of the stick shift drive thing. But then he goes and he knocks on the door. That little eyeball thing comes out.
Yep.
Stormtroopers come out, and I love. This was kind of sad. You look at the Yoda. He looks at them. And he's like, you see this not fear, but his sadness.
He's
come
just
over
like, oh,
yeah,
yep.
It's heartbreaking when you really watch it. And then they wheel him in after they go talk for a minute, and he's just kind of looking at the Mandalorian. He's going to the other room. It's so sad, and it's not just because like, oh, what are they gonna do? It's like he recognized that something evil was gonna happen, or he's seen these guys before. 50 years, the Imperial guys knew about him. Surely he's seeing those kind of the armor.
He even is given a hard time by the other Mandalorians after this, right? They're all like, "Why are you working with these people who killed us, and did all this? Like, what's your problem?" And so yeah, he definitely knows he shouldn't be doing this.
Right. So there's I don't know. People have these theories about a clone of Yoda. If it was a clone of Yoda, and he's 50 years old, this would have been pre-Clone Wars. If it was a clone of Yoda pre-Clone Wars, any exposure he would have had to white armor would have been clone troopers if it was during the Clone Wars. That doesn't necessarily fit. And this is like pointless speculation. It doesn't mean anything until later in the show. But like his acknowledging the situation could have just been a sensitivity to the emotions and that danger sense that Jedis have. But there was like recognition as soon as the stormtroopers walk out, and it just his face sank. This is really heartbreaking.
Well, everyone keeps saying Baby Yoda. From everything I'm seeing, he's more of a toddler or a small child, right? He hasn't said much yet, but he appears to have a conscience. He can process things that are happening around him. I mean, he's standing there watching him fight and drinking the little soup, like it's more of a toddler. A baby doesn't stand there and watch things like that and take their soup and drink it,
I agree with you. And that's the thing, when he's watching him, it's almost like he's like gauging, like, who is this guy? What's he really, like, what's he doing? He's not figuring out who's he working for. Oh, he's a bounty hunter. He's not figuring out stuff like that. He's figuring out, oh, this guy's not hurting me.
Right.
Oh, this guy's walking. Oh, these guys are hurting him. Oh, he's hurt. I'll help him. It's just really simplistic.
Right, it's simplistic thinking, and maybe he has some aid by the Force. The Force might be kind of helping him, like, have an idea, but who knows?
Right. Okay. Well, anyway, Yoda's scared, and then he goes in, and then the client pulls out this big old stack, and he says, "To the winner go the spoils." And I love this because it's a tangible. The what are they called? The little bars.
The Vescar, yeah.
Big word bars. He takes the bars and he looks at them, and they're all like brand everything with the whatever it's called. But I love that he actually took out a stack and hefted them, because there's just more of that texture that this is a prop. This isn't CGI. This is like a real thing. It gives a little grit to the story. I love it. Then he goes to, they're talking in the deal. This is what I love. He when he's talking to the client, he says, "What are your plans for it?" And I absolutely love, this is one of my favorite deliveries of dialogue ever, when he goes, "How uncharacteristic of someone of your reputation." But the way he says characteristic is so freaking like cynical and very like, just the way he says uncharacteristic is like, don't freaking worry about it. Like, you know your place. You did your job. I'm not. He just threw up a wall right when he said that. But the way I love it. I love it. And it just really tells that guy, like, that's a very Tarkin-y moment. The way he answered and responded was so cool.
Right.
Anyway, then he says, this was interesting to me. Finding Mandalorians in these trying times is more difficult than finding the metal. So, what? Do you watch all the Clone Wars and all Rebels, right? You watched all that?
Yeah, I've watched them all.
Can you just really quickly explain to me what even during the Civil War and the Rebels versus the Empire, what was the status of the Mandalorians? Were they?
So I don't remember details. I probably should have looked this up after our last conversation, but I think they pretty much got wiped out. Like, the planet was taken by the Empire, and a lot of them were wiped out. And
Were they already kind of rare?
No. In the Clone Wars cartoon, there's a whole society of them. They're very popular. There's a whole Obi-Wan Kenobi, Mandalorian girl sort of story. They have a romance. Like they exist very in this canon. Now maybe they didn't in the old canon, but in the new canon,
No,
they
were definitely distant. There was Jado Cass and Boba Fett.
no. They have a whole society in this one, and it was pretty much wrecked by the
You
Empire.
don't mind that, but I think, I mean, you have the Mandalorian clans like the 501st, the cosplayers. I bet they're just freaking just raving about this show right now.
Oh yeah. In fact, I've seen some of those groups on Facebook. All these people are working on their new armor sets already, and some of them are doing the Cara Dune one as well, already.
Yeah. It's cool and I like it, but the thing about Boba Fett that made him such an intriguing thing was he was just a one of a kind. Like when he walked into a room, you're like, oh my gosh, he has Mandalorian armor. That's freaking rare and crazy. And it was almost like a lightsaber. If someone pulls out a lightsaber in Civil War era, it's like, did you kill someone for it, or did you find it, or are you a Jedi?
Right.
For Mandalorian, did you kill a Mandalorian, which is freaking praiseworthy, or is it your armor that because you are a Mandalorian? It was like just as equally like mysterious. So
yeah, you could say this kind of takes away from that, and I'm okay with that. But it's not like they're presenting them as super popular now, right? They're hiding inside of this den of mercenaries, trying to keep away from the public eye. So they're still pretty rare.
Right. It was just a weird line. And then it just makes you, it's more set up for this purge. And I really hope that's the most intriguing thing I'm getting out of this plot. I'm more interested in learning about what this purge is and the government, like we talked about in the first episode. I want to know like what's happening in the universe, in the galaxy right now politically, just to know about it, not to see it. And more than where Baby Yoda came from and stuff. Like I'm more interested about the purge and the conditions, because they keep hinting to this little story about what happened to the Mandalorians that they got them right here.
Right.
And it sounds like we can continue that. So I like that. But I just thought that was an interesting line, that the steel is more valuable. Anyway, so it goes back to the armor. They have a good, cool conversation. They go back to the armor, and the armor goes up, and she takes the steel again. She looks at the stacks, and then she says it was smelted from the Empire. She talks about his sigil. He says, I can't take the mud monster.
Yeah, he chooses nothing.
It wasn't a clean kill. My enemy helped me. How did your enemy help you? Why would it? Because you didn't know it's my enemy, whatever. Do you have any theories on his sigil? What it's going to be? Because it's got to be something by the end. I think they're going to reveal his sigil. That'll be the accomplishment. I think.
Yeah, I don't have any theories on that. I haven't thought about that. That's interesting.
I do.
What do you think is going to be a Baby Yoda?
No, I think by the end of it, I think it's going to be a stormtrooper helmet.
Oh, nice.
I think his sigil is going to be a stormtrooper, because I think whoever the client is, that's going to be the symbol of what it is. I think all this backstory of everyone hunting it down, the doctor saying, I'm the reason it's still alive. I saved its life because I think everyone else wanted to kill it. He wanted to do research or whatever he's doing, extracting midichlorians, who knows. But whatever he's doing, he's keeping it alive. But I think the main enemy is going to be the Mandalorian uncovering this little conspiracy of this remnant of the Empire and bringing it down. That main enemy and the client is going to be his main target. I don't think anyone else is going to be introduced to be more important of a villain as the client, who we already know. And I think the Stormtrooper armor is going to be representative of that. So I think that's my theory. Is his sigil is going to be Stormtrooper armor. That's my thought.
That would be pretty cool.
Anyway, it's really interesting, but they had some fun dialogue. That's where you were talking about. They were complaining this isn't clean metal because it was forged by the Emperor or by the Empire. He's like, whatever, it's still valuable. We're just going to use it. They wanted to keep it for their needs, and he wanted them to save some for the foundlings, which again is more tipping off the foundlings. I'm now convinced that, and I think they've pretty much established this, that he isn't a Mandalorian, but he was a foundling where they recovered him from the war.
Yeah, that's right.
Saved him as in a refugee kind of a situation, and he grew up in their traditions. That's why he doesn't have a sigil or a clan. He's earning his own way, and they're going to reward him as he is establishing his own identity in the Mandalorian society.
Which, yeah, that's what it seems like, which is pretty cool. There's also one thing, I guess I kind of have to take back my complaint from the first episode after seeing that episode, because After that, he gets his armor made, and he's sitting there and he's contemplating he has the flashbacks again, and I realized, oh, this is his sacrament. Like, this is what he does. When the armor is forged, he looks at this and remembers why he's doing all of this and thinks back on, this is what happened to my family. This is what I want to do. And I'm like, oh, this is more of what he does versus
ceremonial thing, yeah.
Trying to cheese the audience over. Now, I'm not going to say it doesn't help cheese the audience with some information that they wouldn't get otherwise. I think it accomplishes that as well. But at least it seems like they're being consistent, right? It's like, no, this is where he reflects on
right.
He's here today.
Now, the other thing that people have been suggesting, or not suggesting, it's kind of alluding to it, is that the smashing of the armor is triggering.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very possible.
PTSD, and it shows him going back to the same thing, and I don't think you're necessarily wrong. And both of them could be looking at being looked at the same way. I like both ideas. I don't think if he's forcing himself to think about that as he's watching the armory or the armor being made, if that's something that keeps him motivated, he's like, this is why I'm doing this. I think there is a specific connection between metal and the droids because remember the battle droids, which look awesome in this flashback. So cool when you're watching.
Well, and they seem very menacing too, which is exactly what the droids should have been in the prequels. They should have been say nothing, walk forward, and blast everything alive. Like that's what they should have been.
Tell me this, Zach. Would it be possible to go back, take the prequels, just take the footage, even though we hate the footage, do some really fancy ADR, hiring another voice actor or a different director directing Hayden Christensen on top of Anakin, removing all of the CGI for all the droids and making them look like this? Do you think that could change how awesome the prequels would be?
I don't know. Maybe. I think it would go a long way in helping. You still have awful dialogue throughout episodes 2 and 3, and
I think the script could be juiced up with delivery, though, with a director that actually cared about the actors.
Right. No, it's possible, but the droids definitely need to, there's a bunch of scenes of the droids you'd have to completely redo, like you said, because they're super goofy just in what they do. Like when R2-D2 fights those droids, and they're like, what's going on? And then burns them up, and they're jumping everywhere, and you're just like...
The Three Stooges acts?
Right. Yeah. When your enemy force is completely goofy and incompetent and useless, it doesn't... doesn't
I was like watching the monsters shooting like they were in the flashback here, and I was like, what if you took everything out of the arena scene where all the Jedi were dying, and you just showed more menacing droids, just really assaulting and taking out these Jedi that didn't seem so wimps for the whole time, that there was actually an army to be feared. I think that would bring up a lot more attention to the prequels, which would make you give it a little more heaviness because they lack all heaviness.
Well, so this is what's funny. George had some cool ideas in the prequels, and it's taken everything else to sort of expand or show those ideas, like the Clone Wars and like Rebels and the books, where you're like, oh, I get what Palpatine was doing now. That's actually pretty clever. But
like other authors and writers.
Right. But what I will say about the triggering is, if he's triggered by the hammer, why isn't he triggered by blaster fire?
Yeah.
And I'm not a psychological expert, so I don't know. I don't know how that works.
Yeah. But there's something about it. I mean, there's a connection there when the armory. But I gotta say, as soon as he started having those flashbacks again, I rolled my eyes. I was like, "What? This is not like I said the first time. It's a weird place just to shove that in there." And I was like, they could tell that story somewhere else. Now we're having it a second time with the same incident, only just a little more elaboration. You see the droids this time. I don't know.
That's funny because I was the opposite. I was like, oh, I get it now. I understand. This makes sense what they're doing.
I want to see where they go. I like your theory though, and that does give it a little more meaning if that is his sacrament. I think if
that's the case,
that is cool. But if it's just a way that they're just showing the audience this exposition thing for his background, that's a dumb way to do it.
And the one thing I'm worried about is I thought, oh, maybe this will be an ongoing thing, but they pretty much built his entire armor suit with that. So my theory might not be the best theory either, because there's no, it may never happen again because he's.
Well, but now the Mandalorian's going to be on the run.
Yeah, that's true too.
So he doesn't have like a smelding whatever to go to. Anyway, okay. So back on track. So he goes and talks to them. Then the little brawl breaks out. I love that the first thing the guy does is he grabs his helmet. I was like, ooh, you don't do that to a Mandalorian. So as soon as he grabs it, that is serious, because he just got asked by her. Have you ever looked at taking your helmet off or whatever? He's like, no. Right. But when the Mandalorian gets, it's like football. You don't grab a face mask. You just don't do that, But he grabbed the helmet. I was like, oh, this is serious.
Yeah.
Pulls out the knife, and they start going after each other. Did you notice that the knives vibrate?
The vibro knife.
They're full-on vibro blades, and they should be. But yeah, they I don't know if it's supposed to be some kind of a weird glowing effect, like pulsating energy or something, but they're vibrating, and there should be vibro blades.
Right. So yeah, I'm sure they're vibro blades.
And someone else pointed out when he held it up to the monster, or the mud monster, it was vibrating. But I didn't notice that the first time. But this time it was definitely vibro blading or whatever they are. Anyway, grapple that, and now they have a little contention among the ranks. He gets his armor, struts right into the bar, talks to Apollo Creed. What do you think of Apollo Creed's character?
He's fine. I mean, this is sort of skipping to the end, but what I do think is funny is I thought he was going to be a throwaway character. Like, from the first episode, I thought he'd be a throwaway character. And then they don't throw him away. He's still there.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that sort of playing with expectation, because maybe he'll come back around. I'm sure he will.
I want them to play a little, keep him colorful. What I mean by colorful is like where he was like getting really loud when the Mandalorian, when he wasn't like this in the first episode. When Mandalorian had his thing, he was a little more energetic, because now he has the money in his pocket, and he was like bragging. He's like, yeah, everyone had the bounty, but you're the only one that was awesome enough to do it. Now I'm a rich man. Like, he was
right. Yeah, his cut of that was probably pretty significant if it's percentage based.
Yeah. So, which also tells you if he only had a couple of those, his down payment when he got the original sigil for his shoulder pad.
Yeah.
Apparently that's substantial, that little bit. And they mentioned, he said a lot more where this came from, which tells you how much money that whole stack was really worth. But I liked him. I liked there was a little change. He's not just, oh, I'm going to be the guy that gives you the information as a contact and the whatever we call them, the bounty bookie or whatever.
He's a fixer. That's the term I was trying to remember last time. And they call them fixers. Yeah, they set up your jobs.
Wow.
They fix two people together. It's a sci-fi, fantasy, steampunk, cyberpunk term.
I was going to say, I don't have a lot of experience with bounty hunters and the guilds and everything, but anyway. But I like that he's not just there just to continue the plot. Here's why Mandalorian's now going to this planet. It's like there's a little character there, and also a little turn. So as we know, he gives him a new job. He leaves, and Boba Fett, Mandalorian goes to his ship, and he sits there, and he reaches for the stick shift, puts it into neutral, realizes that the thing's gone, and then he remembers, and now he has a conscience.
Yep.
I like that, and I love that it was something that triggered his emotions with this creature that was annoying him, where he had to put it in the back seat, getting into stuff, and now the stuff he was getting into is now making him, it's melting him. He's like remembering the importance and the innocence of the thing, and he's like, oh, this is the sin. So he atones for the sin. He walks back, and after he shuts the ship down, goes back, and then he takes his little sniper rifle thermo scanner thing and watches an audio conversation through the building. Whatever, this gun can just do everything magically, his pulse rifle. And he goes in and he looks at the client talk to the doctor, and the doctor says, I want him alive, right? If I remember, they had that little dialogue.
Right.
Walks in and sees in the dumpster, the space dumpster, the bassinet floating thing. I like that. I think that was really cool, because now he's pissed because he just knows. He's like, hey, they're not taking.
They don't care about this guy, right?
Right. So now he assaults.
So this is going on all these things. Everything you just described required zero dialogue.
Yes. Yes.
This is really good visual storytelling. This is what makes good visual storytelling and what makes movies so interesting. You can get character motivation and what they're thinking just from visuals, and that's
Yeah.
why I love the show.
That's what I like. You know, if we're going to talk about the Predator, the first couple, some parts of the other ones. My favorite parts of the Predator movies aren't with the humans. It's just watching the Predator with no dialogue, doing stuff or figuring things out,
Adapting or learning from what's going on without. Yeah, he says nothing.
Whatever. Just watching him do his thing. Even Alien versus Predator 2, where it was the one that had to go clean up when the ship crashed, the alien ship crashed, and so we had to go and like clean up all the bodies and figure out what happened. You see him pick up the helmet, look through the camera and everything. Just watching them do their thing with no English dialogue, no subtitles, no human characters like talking to the camera. That's how an Alien versus Predator movie should have been, by the way. But that's what's cool about this sequence. You can see him figuring stuff out, doing stuff with no dialogue. I agree with you, and I love when that's done correctly. Yep. I don't love when it's not done correctly, like the Star Wars Holiday Special with the Wookiees. Anyway, which bro love, or what's his name, loves it. Anyway, okay, so he makes his assault. Tell me, Zach, what you love about the assault. I'll let you be excited for a minute.
So, well, there's a couple things I really liked about it. First of all, you get to see all the cool things he can do, and but also he's going into the gauntlet, and then he thinks he's coming out of the gauntlet, and then goes straight into another gauntlet.
No way! Did you think? I didn't think about that the first time. He blows his door. Well, first he rips the eyeball thing off, which is
right.
Awesome.
Just to get the stormtroopers to come out and be like, "What was that?"
Yeah, they're like, "Okay." And they start looking around. So he goes around the side, plants his detonator, blows up the door, and goes in the back way. He goes in, gets Baby Yoda. Why doesn't he go back out the way he just cleared? Why does he start going through it more?
I don't know how the layout is. I didn't know he was going out a different way, to be honest.
Well, but it didn't. I mean, it makes sense. He killed a few stormtroopers getting in, got to that room. I mean, the building's not that big. You know, it's like 3 rooms. You're all the way through it. It's gotta be
right.
But it's almost like he was looking for the client or something. But I don't know. It didn't. That's the only thing that didn't make sense about it. But you see him use the flamethrower, burn a freaking stormtrooper down, and then that shot, that was really like Daredevil series, good choreography where you like you flamed the one trooper, went down, the camera was a low angle looking at the dead scorched armor.
Yeah.
It's a battle in the background. He like gets it down, turns and shoots it, walks out, and the smoke's still blowing. Oh, so cool.
Well, and what I like about this too, it's a way of being all like, yeah, he's doing some hardcore stuff, but we don't have to shove it in your face. We don't have to have this horrible gore that you know, they're able to keep it pretty family friendly.
Yeah. You had the Batman moment. Shoots the guy with the grappling hook, pulls him in, stabs him in the back when he comes up to him. That was freaking awesome. But like, this is the first live action Star Wars anything directed by a woman, and she was African American, whatever her name is. And everyone's talking about that, how this was like so good.
Yep.
This sequence was awesome, except for, what'd you think of the whistle? What are they? Butterfly missile?
The explosions all random. Well, yeah. It's not the best. I hate this in every scenario. Who stands around and waits for stuff like that to happen when the person's in the middle? I have this problem with so many movies that I love, actually. The biggest one is probably, oh gosh, I can't remember what it's called. It has Christian Bale and
Batman?
No, they do gun fu, where they stand in the middle of a room with guns and shoot all around them.
I can't think.
Wow, I can't believe I can't remember the name of that. It has freaking Boromir too from Lord of the Rings, and I can't remember that actor's name. Yeah, Sean Bean. Sean Bean's in it too. But anyways, it's a sort of a post-apocalyptic future, I guess. What?
Ring of Fire?
No, it's not the dragon one.
Okay. Anyway.
Well, anyways, they stand in the middle of the room with guns, and they shoot everyone around them, but they just stand there shooting every different direction, and I'm like, how is it that no one hits you, but you can hit everyone? Right. And everyone just stands there and waits to get killed.
When he says they don't shoot it first because he says the cargo is invaluable or whatever he says. Puts down his gun, then he starts putting down the baby. Then he activates with a very loud whistle and glowing red lights. The freaking the butter. What are they called? Who cares?
I don't know what they're called.
Whatever. And they're just little missiles, whirlybirds or something. They fly around and they hit all the targets. But it takes like a good second and a half, 2 seconds, where anyone with a gun drawn on this guy with missiles shooting
blasted him.
Shoot.
Well, and they could have showed any of the shots, or the right way to do that is they just do this so much, but it always makes me mad in action scenes where just everyone sits around. As they're coming in to close on him is when he should have done it, because it's like, oh, they're coming in the room, and then you show them all blowing up.
Right.
Instead of them all standing there ready to kill him, and then he's like, everyone wait, I'm gonna kill you all.
But we just established from the armorer, these are rare. Use them only when you absolutely have to, because it was the excess metal is what they used to make them. I tell you what, they were pretty boring to me. Everyone thought they were kind of cool. Iron Man did the same thing in the first Iron Man movie when he was fighting the terrorists in the desert. The little things, he had the hostages at gunpoint, the little things came out of his shoulder and shot them all. Just because it was 360, this was nothing new. Of course, I guess it's the same producer, so whatever.
It's dumb. They do the same thing. The first episode had it too, where he jumps onto the Gatling gun and then spins around and kills everyone. And apparently, no one is able to hit him while he's doing that. Yeah. It's
that's the one part I didn't like about the first one.
It's stupid action stuff. It makes me mad. Overall, from a story perspective, it doesn't matter in the end. It's just him doing cool action stuff. But for action scenes, you're like, come on. It doesn't take that much to think about this for a second. But apparently it does, because they do it in every single freaking movie.
Yeah. I mean, I loved everything that whole sequence of him walking in, except for that part. Everything else was really cool. I loved the way it was shot. I loved how they didn't know exactly what was going on. Oh, except for their flashlight. They turn on the flashlights on their blaster rifles. Stormtrooper helmets, by traditional canon, I don't know if Disney erased this, but they had dark vision. I'm pretty sure, unless it's just smoke, but they should have ability to see. Maybe it is just smoke. Never mind. I think I'm wrong. This is low. Anyway, walking around, but that was cool looking, having them like their little SWAT. But except for when we first come in, they're like turning on their flashlight while he's like shooting them in the room. Like, okay. Anyway, they get in, he gets out, and now he's walking out with the baby. Okay.
And that's when he walks into the next gauntlet.
Yes. This is the one I didn't like. Okay, he's walking down the street. Now Apollo Creed has all the bounty hunters after him.
I did like this, but this was set up though earlier when he's all like, "Who got a little puck or whatever, the tracker?" And he's like, "Everyone."
Yeah.
So this is actually set up.
Yeah, this is where everyone's like, "Oh, this is like John Wick." Now they're all watching him coming out of the street. They're waiting to get into the right position and gang up and be ready, so they're all going to jump in. And Apollo Creed even mentions that he's like, we'll just eventually just take you down, strip your armor, and sell it or whatever.
Right.
So they're not like worried about keeping him alive. He gets into the thing. He says, "I'm walking to my ship. Don't try and stop me." And then they have the big. Oh, he says Apollo Creed tells him, "Put the baby in the speeder." This speeder is the slowest freaking thing I've ever seen in Star Wars, other than the Gonk droids, right? He sets it in the speeder, and then he like turns, shoots one guy next to him, and no one shoots. They all just watched him put the baby down, and no one shoots as he dives into the freaking thing. There was a couple guys like 2 feet away from him. They were like, "Oh, they're waiting." He jumps in, starts shooting off to the side, poking his head completely up, where all of them could just start shooting. There's like 20 guys there. This shootout was stupid. I am sorry. He's in there. He sticks his head up, has a conversation with the pilot droid telling it to drive. He uses the word drive. There's no wheels. That doesn't, I don't know. That could be a petty thing, but it's like,
Yeah, I don't know if driving is tied to wheels necessarily, but
Well, yeah. Okay.
I didn't
Steer.
notice that spacing. I know he was surrounded and he shot and dove, but I thought he did it at pretty much the same time. And it is unrealistic, but
No one
I don't think that's as egregious as the stormtroopers surrounding him before and then
I agree.
waiting.
That was worse. But at least they were like watching him put the baby down. This time, like they're not shooting. None of those freaking bounty hunters. They're bounty hunters. These aren't just local thugs or law enforcement. They're bounty hunters. None of them have grenades. None of them have like scopes. There were ones up on the roof, like sniper positions, shooting down onto the bed of a truck, essentially.
So, I don't know if they want to kill the baby. That's the only thing about that. But I do think. I mean, maybe I'll have to go watch it again. I didn't have any of these problems with it when I was watching it.
Maybe it's just like the set design for this encounter wasn't very creative. Maybe that's all it was. You watch a lot of Westerns and they use the environment in shootouts in a saloon, out on the streets, behind barrels, behind carriages, whatever they're doing. It can get creative and it's really cool to watch how they get in and out of situations. I was thinking of Young Guns. Remember the first Young Guns when they're in the little pit, or not in the little restaurant or whatever it is, and then the one main bounty hunter comes up that they were really afraid of, and he comes up, and then they're like he had a bounty on him. He's a really old fat guy, and he pulls out the 2 rifles, and then they shoot him, and he goes into the outhouse, and he starts shooting back at him from inside the outhouse. And he takes a couple of them down. That's interesting environmental encounter. This one, he jumps in the back of a truck, which is very low walled and has people from elevated positions from every direction. No one can touch him and do anything. He's sticking his head up, having conversations with the droid. I thought it was very unimaginative and boring. Sorry. And he pulls out his flamethrower. This was cool. The flamethrower ran out of gas. I love that his flamethrower has only done one thing effectively in this whole series so far.
Well, he does have plot armor. So that's definitely true.
Well, but he doesn't need plot armor because they already established how awesome his real armor is. Show some glancing off of him. We're like, wow, this guy's hard to kill because of his armor's so awesome. Not.
That actually would have been good to see. Show he got the new armor. You might as well show it working especially when he's surrounded and dealing with a bunch of people. That's actually that's a good point.
Blocking by blasters like pew pew. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Even that would be cool, watching him utilize this stuff. Anyway, I just thought it was dumb. They shoot the droid. Paulo Creed's like, oh, I'll shoot the droid. The thing crashes.
That was one thing I thought was funny where he lines up the shot, and I'm all like, you have a energy weapon. You could fire a few times and lead your shot so that you could nail that. You don't have to do the slowly move and shoot.
It's not like shooting a guy off a horse at like 40 miles an hour. The thing is going.
Right. No, you can lead your shot pretty easy.
Yeah. Takes him down, and then he's just down, and then this was cool. I can't remember. He falls behind some barrels, right? If I remember, he crawls out, jumps into some barrels, and then he shoots his pulse rifle while they're like, honing in on him.
It might just be behind the ship. Wrecked ship and some of the.
He didn't get very far.
Maybe, but yes. When he starts taking his gun and sniping people, that's very cowboy and that's very awesome.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
And even in that same scene from Young Guns, when they think the guy's dead, he goes, ugh! And then they start coming up. Doc or whoever does. Anyway, not Doc. What's his name? The leader, whatever his name is, the brother of comes up, and that's when the gun comes out the crack, and they don't see it, and just aimed perfectly. That's the same moment. I loved it. That part was cool because he actually had he was barricaded. Yeah, it made more sense. And then
and it got them scared too. Like that's a good scare tactic, right? If you have a risk of being disintegrated, and then you see the people kind of they're like, oh crap, and they start ducking, right? Like they're like, oh.
Because we already know that these guys are way out of their league compared to the Mandalorian, but now he's in a position where it makes sense. And then he stops and he looks at the baby, and the baby looks at him, and the baby's like, because the baby's like half asleep or drugged or whatever he was. And then instantly a cool thing happens, followed by a stupid thing. Okay, a missile flying off the back behind the wall takes out one of the snipers on the top. Then all of a sudden, from jetpacks fly in the Mandalorians. Now, I love the missile coming in because I don't know if you remember all the story behind the most valuable Star Wars toy of all time was the original Boba Fett toy that was from, I think it was the cartoon, the holiday special, or the Ewoks cartoon, whatever it was, but they had it, and it had a firing missile from the back.
The missile,
The back had a missile.
Yep.
And they only made like 100 of them or whatever, until another toy line had someone shoot the kid's eye out or something with a firing missile. So they stopped it, recalled it, but there were still these prototypes that were floating around. So some Star Wars toy collectors have a Mandalorian toy with a firing missile. Very, very rare, very expensive. I believe that the shot from that missile was from one of those backpacks, because that's awesome. We've never seen that in Star Wars before. Boba Fett carried around the whole time. He never used it.
Right.
Then they're all flying with their jetpacks. And then the dumb thing is that we just saw the Mandalorian rip through this freaking Imperial hideout, killing guys with a lot of creative ways, a lot of creative shots. And then we see these Mandalorians who are known for steel and melee weapons and creativity, wrist launchers and ropes and all this cool stuff, fly in with their jetpacks shooting pistols. It was so stupid. They didn't do anything exciting. I would have been more excited watching him come in from behind alleys, chopping them with like big battle axes or sabers or something, like all the weapons in the Red Guards had in The Last Jedi. Like, not a big elaborate battle like that.
I actually
but
thought those were stupid.
well, a lot of people did. For those guys, I don't want the weapons to look like that. But look, there was creativity with different melee weapons. That's what Mandalorians are known for, utilizing their gear and their armor and stuff, not just jetpacking, looking cool, and shooting blasters. And that's all they do.
That might just be that might just be an opinion or something. There was the heavy infantry guy who had the Gatling, had his own huge gun and was unloading.
Right.
The double pistols is a callback to Jango Fett. So
one of them had two pistols.
I don't think that's totally out in the night.
A couple missiles were being shot, but it's like this was so boring compared to the shot in Revenge of the Sith when Obi-Wan is there. He already chased off General Grievous, and the clone troopers attack and they come rappelling in and everything. Some of them have like fully automatic blasters and stuff. That looked more awesome in a Clone Wars attack in the prequels than this awesome show. It was just boring.
Well, yeah, but that's also different scale. You're talking full-scale war in a movie versus bandits shooting each other out in a little, I don't know, bounty hunter town. I
don't need that many of them. I'm just saying that the visuals of like the way it was shot and everything. It was just boring. It was a side camera, like, look, here they come. Okay, they're here. They come and get it. And he's like, okay, well, now we got to relocate. Oh, this is the way. This is the way. All right, party on, Wayne. Party on, Garth. And then he takes off with the baby, gets to his ship.
I think the vast majority of people loved the end of Episode 3 and everything that went down. So I think you're...
I know, because
I don't know what you're...
Mandalorians are known for way more intriguing things than just shooting blasters, right? That's not just me. Maybe they've forgotten all that, and Favreau doesn't care. It was cheaper to shoot laser bolts than like manufacturing like weapons and using their metal, which they were famous for forever.
It doesn't mean it's the only thing they do, though. Like, this goes back to... Like, one of our friends was like, oh, he didn't want to use the droid as a taxi. And then he's like, but then he worked with the droid later. That doesn't make any sense. And it's like, no, there's nuance to his issues with droids. Like, right. It doesn't mean he's never, ever going to associate with a droid ever just because he says, no, I'd rather not have a droid taxi.
Yeah, he didn't have a choice to work with IG-11.
No, I agree. And, I mean, he even does say to him, you're okay for a droid, I guess. But, I don't know. The Mandalorians don't have to do one specific thing. I don't have a big...
That attack would have been much more exciting if they did something besides fly in and shoot blasters.
You got to remember, it's still
incompetent the other guys were.
It's still a TV show, right? Like, I mean, I guess they could have put millions of more dollars into it, but I mean, it's not the same scale as the movies.
I don't know. maybe it was a budgetary thing, but if it was a lazy thing. Maybe even just having a couple of the guys come. But no, I mean, it's cool to see them come in because they're stepping up to fight for one of their own. And it also shows the inclusion that he's earned with them, with their honor. Maybe they did that because they found he went against the Imperial client that he was working with. Who knows? But I don't know. I just didn't like how simple of the shootout was. He just gets away, shoots Apollo Creed. He gets up. Do you think he knew that he had the gun? Like, that's what people are saying. Is like he shot there on purpose because it would get him out of the situation, but he wouldn't kill his friend.
I don't think so. I that's interesting. I didn't think about that, but I don't think so.
He didn't pull it out. He showed him in the bar. He's like, "Look what I got," and then he shot him.
Well, Carl Weathers didn't seem to think that. He thought he was dead, and then he pulled it out and was like, "Oh, sweet crap! This thing saved my life." So I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think he did. Yeah. Anyway.
Maybe. I guess that's a possibility, but he did just try and kill him.
Yes.
So.
But I think there's this code of honor with the guild. He did break the rules.
Well, he broke the rules of the guild. He killed a bunch of other mercenaries that were shooting at him. So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe.
And then you have the Rocketeer shot. Everyone's calling I thought of Iron Man at first, but it is.
Yeah, I thought that was a little weird because he does the salute, and I'm all like, "Is that?" But they do stuff like that in Star Wars all the time. Like, "I'll see you in heck," I guess. And I'm all like, "Wait, what? Is that a thing in that universe?" Like,
yeah,
they or your mom joke at the beginning of Last Jedi. My gosh, but
I do want to talk about the next episode. We'll come back to that. But
okay. But anyways, I thought that salute was kind of weird at the end.
I didn't like it. I didn't like that he flew up there. He broke out. He was like up in the freaking stratosphere, whatever it's called, where it was blue haze above the clouds. Like he was about to go up into space. The jetpack's flying up there. Boba Fett's jetpack doesn't have that much. It's not. It's like more like little bursts. He doesn't like fly around like the rocket.
It jumps, yeah.
But whatever. It looked fun for the audience.
It is in the future, so maybe like that's what they've decided they can do more with the rockets.
Yes.
I don't know.
So Mandalorians like took all their time and started focusing on engineering cooler backpacks, and
while they're in the middle of they don't have any existence. Their tribe barely exists, and they're like, let's make our rockets better.
Yeah.
Probably not.
All of our cool swords and axes and spears and gauntlets and lances to make cooler backpacks. Anyway.
No, that's right. I don't know. It was weird. It was just that. Yeah, that was weird. That was a weird little end spot. Especially since they already gave him they did the "this is the way" thing already. They're like, "Hey, we got your back. Like, you're good," and he escapes. Right, you're right. But then the other guy flies up with him and gives him the little loot, and you're like, "What?
Yeah.
What universe are we in again?"
It's like, hey, remember the guy that grabbed his mask? Look, they're friends now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we figured that out. They just had their conversation down on the ground. Anyway, unnecessary. Gets up, flies off, and then. Cute little moment. He takes the little ball, hands it to the yodeling for him to play with.
Right. Yeah.
Oh. Anyway, you gave it a 10 out of 10 though, that episode?
Yeah, I mean those little complaints don't have anything to do with the story, cinematography, or music or anything. Yeah, I gave it.
I probably the 10 out of 10. The space battle, but it was mostly set design and direction stuff. I think, not necessarily cinematography, but whatever. That all adds to the experience, and I was bored in that shootout because it was just flat. It just was flat for me. They came this awesome one to this boring thing. Anyway,
if it's not entertaining, that can bring a score down. I think so. This is one theory I have, real quick side tangent. I do think people who know about film or have studied film or have made films, they can have some insight that other people cannot. But what you can't say that, like you can say, oh, their opinion's more valid than others. But what you can't change someone's opinion on or say is invalid is entertainment level, right? If someone's bored during a movie, they're bored during a movie. And no matter what someone says, that doesn't make it unboring.
You're like, you shouldn't be bored here. You're wrong.
I mean, you could give someone insight into it and that might change their perspective. But if they were bored, they weren't entertained, something wasn't communicated correctly, right? So
I agree with that. I guess I would expect more from an assault from a Mandalorian, but I mean, I go back to have read like the Tales of the Jedi, the Tales of the Sith, the Exar Kun stories and all that stuff. Freedom Ride, where they had Mandalorians and it was all part of the Sith Wars way back in the golden age of the Jedi. All that stuff was really cool because they weren't just, gun using, and there were guns back then, but they did other things besides that. And steel and their metalwork, even here, is established, was a part of their culture. It was boring to have so many of them fly in just using wrist rockets and blasters. It was, I don't know. We've been seeing some more, a couple flamethrower, a little cord twanging around or whatever. I don't know.
Maybe you should turn your brain off during the action scenes. Like you have to keep your brain active for the rest of it because there's visual storytelling, right? You'll miss things if you aren't paying attention. But then when it cuts to the action scene, just turn your brain off.
I'll say this though, Zach, in his credit. Did you see it coming when he was pinned down? Did you think the Mandalorians were coming?
I actually thought they were going to come sooner. And then they didn't come, and I was like, oh, maybe they aren't going to come. I actually thought they were going to come. I can't remember at what point now, but me and Rhett were talking about this. I was all like, I think the Mandalorians would come at this point, and then they didn't. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe not. But,
I didn't see it coming. I was so enthralled in the how's he going to get out of this really lame setup of a sack. And then they came in. I was like, oh, that was awesome. And then they didn't do anything but shoot. I'm like, oh, well, I saw that in Revenge of the Sith. Anyway, that's the episode of The Sin. To me, the greatest sin was not utilizing Mandalorians very well, but that's just me who loves the intrigue of the culture of Mandalorians. Whatever, it fits for what they've done with the Mandalorians in this show and in Clone Wars and Rebels and stuff. But anyway, you gave it a 10 out of 10. I'd say, just off the top of my head, probably an 8 or 9. I really like this episode. Do you think, was this one your favorite of 4 so far?
That's a good question.
Or 5 or 4?
Episode 3 is probably my favorite.
This one, The Sin? Cool.
4 I think is really good, but it's probably the weakest of all of them so far, even though I get what they were doing, so it made it a lot of fun. But,
right. Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to talk about episode 4 next, and we're going to do that on a separate video. So if you watch this, awesome. Tell us what you think. If I'm just up at night, if I'm crazy, if I'm too critical, or I just have my nose too much into the book sometimes with all the role-playing games, all this crap I've been studying for all these years about the Mandalorians, whatever. Zach loved it. I really, 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 really liked it. I just was so close. So close. Anyway, this close, Zach. Anyway, Zach, thanks for joining me on this episode. Any final thoughts on The Sin?
Nope, that's great.
It's great. Okay. Well, thanks for watching Saints on Cinema. We'll catch you next time on episode 4, Solitude. Or Sanctuary. Something with an F. We'll see you next time.